The human woman walked slowly down the dusty street of the alien colony. Her steps were heavy, her arms weak, and her stomach empty. She had not eaten for 2 days. Every breath felt like fire in her chest, but she forced herself forward. The colony was alive with sound. Alien merchants shouted about their goods, strange animals cried from wooden cages, and the smell of cooked food filled the air. The woman's body reacted at once. Her mouth watered, her stomach growled, and her legs almost gave out. She pressed her hand against a wall, trying to stand tall. The aliens noticed her. Some stopped what they were doing. Their eyes, large and bright, followed her with suspicion. The human was a rare sight in this part of space. Most of them had only heard stories of humans. Some stories told of courage, others of violence. She approached a stall where bowls of hot stew bubbled over a fire. The smell was rich, filled with spice and warmth. Her voice came out soft, almost a whisper. "Please, just one bowl. I can pay later. I only need a little." The alien merchant stared at her. His 4 eyes blinked one after another. The chatter of the crowd grew quiet as they listened. The merchant's mouth twisted into a thin smile. "No food for a human. Not here." The woman lowered her head. Her hands trembled. She turned to another stall, where round fruits, golden and sweet, were stacked in baskets. She forced her voice louder. "Please, just one piece. I will work for it. I will clean, I will carry. Anything." This time, a group of aliens laughed. One of them, tall and strong, stepped forward. "Humans always beg. Humans always take. Go back to your ship, stranger. You will find no kindness here." The laughter spread like fire. The woman felt her heart tighten. Her legs shook, and for a moment, she thought she might fall. She clutched her coat tighter around herself, trying to hide her weakness. A child's voice whispered from the crowd. "Why won't they help her?" But the mother pulled the child away, shaking her head. "Quiet. Do not speak of it." The woman moved on, stall to stall. Everywhere she turned, doors closed, faces hardened, and voices whispered. No one would give her even a crumb of bread. It was as if the entire colony had decided together, the human will not eat. The sun above shifted, painting the street in long, sharp shadows. Her steps slowed. Her throat was dry, her body weak. She found a quiet corner near the edge of the market and sat down, pressing her back against a cold wall. She closed her eyes, but the smell of food was everywhere. It was torture. The aliens returned to their normal lives, laughing and trading as if nothing had happened. But not all of them had forgotten. Across the street, a small group of alien children stood close together. They did not laugh. They did not whisper cruel words. They only stared at the human woman with wide, curious eyes. One child tilted his head. Another clutched a piece of bread in her small hand, holding it tightly as if unsure what to do. They were silent, but their eyes spoke. They saw her pain. They saw her hunger. The woman felt the weight of their gaze. She looked up, meeting their eyes for a brief moment. She expected fear. She expected disgust. But what she saw was something else, something pure. Hope. For a second, the world seemed still. The children did not move closer. They did not step away either. They only watched. Their parents called to them, pulling them back toward the stalls, but even as they left, the children kept looking over their shoulders at the human. The woman let out a shaky breath. She leaned her head back against the wall, her eyes wet. The crowd had rejected her. The colony had turned its back. But those silent stares from the children, they carried a question, a spark, and maybe even a promise. She did not know it yet, but this moment, the quiet connection between starving human and curious alien child, was the beginning of something greater. Something that would test the colony, shake their beliefs, and show what kindness truly meant. The human wiped her face with the back of her hand. Her stomach still ached. Her body still begged for food. But deep inside, she now carried a new thought: not everyone had turned away. And in the shadows of that alien marketplace, the children's eyes never left her. The market lights burned brighter as the alien sun began to set. Shadows stretched across the ground, and the busy voices of the colony grew softer. Merchants packed their baskets, fires cooled, and the smell of cooked meals drifted through the air. The human woman sat alone in her corner. Her body was weak, her head heavy. She watched families gather at long wooden tables, their plates full of steaming food. The sound of laughter cut through her heart like a blade. Every bite they took reminded her of her own empty stomach. She tried not to look, but hunger is a cruel master. Her eyes followed every bowl, every plate, every hand lifting food to alien mouths. Her lips were dry, and her hands trembled against her knees. Still, she made no sound. She did not beg again. She had already been humiliated enough. But she was not alone. From behind a broken wall, a small group of alien children gathered again. There were 4 of them, 2 boys and 2 girls, their skin pale with faint patterns that glowed under the market lamps. Their eyes were large, glowing faintly like embers. And all of them were watching her. The oldest whispered, "She is hungry. I can see it." The youngest clutched a half-eaten fruit in her hand, not taking another bite. She looked at the human and then at the food, as if weighing something deep inside. They were silent, but their faces spoke louder than words. The woman saw them again. Her tired eyes lifted slowly, meeting their gaze. She did not smile, she did not wave, she only looked. And again, she expected fear, maybe disgust. But the children's eyes held something else. Pity. When the alien parents noticed their children staring, they pulled them close. "Do not look at her," one father hissed. "She is not like us." But the children kept peeking from behind their parents, curiosity burning brighter than fear. The human lowered her gaze. She did not want the children to get in trouble. She pulled her coat tighter, trying to hide her shaking hands. Her body begged for food, but her pride whispered, "Do not beg again. Do not show weakness." The night grew colder. The fires burned low. Families returned to their homes, carrying the smell of roasted meat and sweet fruit with them. The marketplace emptied, leaving only shadows and the quiet creak of wooden stalls. The human leaned against the wall, her eyes half closed. Her breath was slow, shallow. She wondered if she would survive the night. Maybe tomorrow, she told herself. Maybe tomorrow someone would show kindness. But tomorrow was far away. Soft footsteps broke the silence. She opened her eyes. In the dim light, she saw them, the children again. They had returned. This time, they were alone. The oldest boy carried a small basket, the kind used for scraps. Inside were broken pieces of bread, a few fruits, and a jug of water. They moved carefully, glancing over their shoulders as if afraid of being seen. The woman blinked, too weak to speak. Her throat burned, but her eyes widened. The children stopped a few steps away. For a moment, none of them moved. Then, slowly, the youngest girl stepped forward. Her small hands shook as she held out the half-eaten fruit. She placed it on the ground between them, then stepped back quickly. Her glowing eyes met the human's. No words. Only silence. The woman's heart pounded. She wanted to reach for the food at once, but she held herself still. She looked at the children, trying to understand. Why would they help her when the adults had turned away? The oldest boy set the basket down on the ground. He pushed it gently toward her with his foot. Then he raised his finger to his lips. "Shoo!" he whispered, the only sound in the night. The human's eyes filled with tears. Her throat ached as she tried to whisper back, but no words came. Her voice had been stolen by hunger and emotion. Instead, she bowed her head slowly, a gesture of gratitude. The children smiled faintly, nervous, secret smiles. Then they stepped back into the shadows, vanishing as quickly as they had appeared. The woman reached out with shaking hands. She lifted a piece of bread and pressed it to her lips. It was rough, dry, but it was food. The sweetest food she had ever tasted. She drank from the jug, cool water running down her throat, and for the first time in days, her body sighed with relief. But even stronger than the food was the feeling in her heart. It was not the bread that saved her. It was the courage of children. They had broken the rules of their world. They had chosen kindness when their elders chose cruelty. The woman closed her eyes, holding the bread in her hands. A thought burned inside her: if even children could see her as worthy, maybe not all hope was lost. She did not know the danger the children now faced. She did not know their secret gift would soon be discovered. But deep inside, she felt something new, a spark, a promise. The story was not finished. And in the dark corners of the alien colony, the silent watchers had taken their first step into rebellion. The night grew deeper in the alien colony. The fires were gone, and only a pale moonlight touched the streets. The human woman sat quietly, her back against the wall, clutching the basket of scraps the children had given her. Her body was still weak, but food and water had brought back a small piece of strength. She ate slowly, careful not to waste a single crumb. Every bite felt heavy with meaning. This was not just food, it was trust. Trust given by children who risked more than she could know. Her thoughts turned heavy. Why had they helped her? They were small, innocent, yet braver than their parents. She wanted to thank them, but they had disappeared into the shadows. All she could do was whisper into the night, "Thank you." From the rooftops above, soft eyes glowed. The children had not gone far. They watched her from the safety of the dark, whispering to one another. "She was crying," the youngest said softly. "She is not dangerous." The oldest frowned. "Father says humans are trouble. But she only asked for food. That is not trouble." They sat in silence, the weight of their secret pressing on their small shoulders. If their parents discovered what they had done, there would be punishment. But something inside told them it was right. The human finished her meal and leaned back, exhausted. For the first time since arriving in the colony, she did not feel completely alone. The shadows around her no longer seemed so cold. Morning came slowly. The first merchants began setting up their stalls. The colony awoke, alive with voices and colors once more. The woman stood carefully, hiding the empty basket behind the wall. She did not want the children to be discovered. Her stomach was still empty, but her heart held new strength. She walked through the market again. The same eyes followed her. The same whispers rose in the air. But she did not beg this time. She only looked, silent and watchful, carrying herself with quiet dignity. Yet the children saw her again. They watched from doorways and alleys, small figures blending into the crowd. They noticed her every step, every sigh, every weakness. And once more, they felt the pull inside, the urge to help. That night, when the colony grew quiet again, they returned. This time, they carried more than scraps. The oldest boy had stolen a piece of roasted meat from his family's table. The youngest girl carried a small pouch of sweet fruit. Another had filled a jug with clean water. They moved like shadows, hearts beating fast, afraid of being caught. But their small feet were quick and quiet. The human was waiting in her corner, half asleep when she heard them. Her eyes opened wide when she saw the basket. Tears welled instantly. The children placed the food before her and stepped back. No words, only silence. Their eyes spoke for them. "Take it. Eat. Live." The woman's voice shook as she whispered, Why are you helping me?" The oldest boy looked around nervously, then leaned closer. His voice was soft, almost too quiet to hear. "Because you are hungry. Because no one else will." Her heart broke at those words. Such simple truth, spoken by a child. She reached out with trembling hands, touching the food gently, as if it might vanish. I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. The youngest girl smiled shyly. Her glowing eyes lit with warmth. "You just eat." The woman laughed softly, though tears rolled down her face. It was a fragile, broken laugh, but it carried hope. She took the food and ate slowly, savoring every bite. The children watched, smiling quietly. In their silence, there was no judgment, only kindness. But the danger was growing. Voices echoed from nearby streets. The children stiffened, eyes wide. "Go," the human whispered quickly. "Go before someone sees you." The children nodded and ran back into the shadows, vanishing between walls and doors. The human clutched the food close to her chest. Her tears fell freely now, not just from hunger, but from the weight of what had just happened. She was not invisible anymore. She was not hated by all. There were hearts in this colony that beat with compassion, small, young hearts, unbroken by fear. And in that moment, the woman made a silent promise. If she ever found strength again, she would protect those children. She would carry their kindness like a flame in the dark. She did not know what tomorrow would bring. But she knew one thing with certainty. The children had given her more than food. They had given her a reason to fight. The night swallowed the colony again, but in one corner of the marketplace, a spark had been lit. A secret bond, fragile but powerful, now tied a starving human and 4 alien children together. Neither knew that soon, the secret gift would not remain a secret. The colony was watching, and discovery was close. The colony was never truly silent. Even at night, the air carried the sound of machinery, the creak of wooden beams, and the distant hum of alien voices. But on this night, something different stirred: suspicion. The missing food had not gone unnoticed. Bread, fruit, and even meat were gone from family tables. At first, parents thought their children were being careless. But when it happened again, whispers began to spread through the marketplace. Someone is stealing. Someone is taking food in the night. Who dares to do such a thing? The merchants grew angry. The guards sharpened their spears. The colony leader demanded answers. And soon, eyes turned toward the human. She felt it as she walked the streets the next morning. Their stares were sharper now, their whispers louder. Hands pointed at her when they thought she could not see. She kept her head low, clutching her coat tight, her heart pounding. But she was not the thief. The truth was far more dangerous. That night, when the children came again, their small hands carried food hidden in cloth. The human shook her head at once, fear flashing in her eyes. "No," she whispered. "You must stop. They are looking. If they catch you—" The oldest boy put the food down firmly. "We cannot stop. You will die without this." Tears burned in her eyes. "You don't understand. If they find out, they will punish you. Maybe worse." The youngest girl stepped forward, her little chin raised in quiet defiance. "We are not afraid." The human's chest tightened. They were just children, yet they carried more courage than any adult she had met here. She reached out, touching the girl's hand gently. Her voice cracked. "I am afraid for you." The children smiled softly, but their eyes were filled with determination. They had made their choice. And then it happened. A sharp voice cut through the night. "Stop." The children froze. The human turned quickly. From the shadows, several alien adults stepped forward, their faces twisted with anger. In their hands were lanterns, the flames flickering harshly in the dark. One of the women gasped. "It's true. The children have been feeding her." The children dropped the cloth of food in shock. The youngest began to cry, but the oldest stood in front of her, his small body trembling but defiant. The human rose to her feet, her heart racing. "No. It was me. I took the food," she shouted, her voice desperate. "Do not blame them. Punish me instead." The adults sneered. You have no place here. You begged, we refused, and still you steal from our mouths." The human shook her head, stepping forward to shield the children. "They are only trying to help. If kindness is a crime here, then take me, not them." The guards arrived, spears in hand. The flames from their torches painted the walls red. The market filled with angry voices, neighbors gathering, pointing, shouting. "She is dangerous. She is corrupting the young. Humans bring only trouble. The children clung to her coat, their glowing eyes wide with fear. But the human stood firm, even as her body trembled from hunger and exhaustion. Her voice was low, but steady. You fear me because I am different. But I asked for food, not war. I asked for help, not power. And when you turned away, it was your children who showed mercy. Her words cut through the crowd like a blade. Some aliens looked uneasy, shifting where they stood. But others grew angrier, shouting louder. The colony leader himself stepped forward, tall and imposing. His deep voice silenced the crowd. Enough. The human will answer for this. He looked at the children, his eyes hard. And you, why did you betray your own people? The oldest boy swallowed, his voice trembling but brave. Because she was hungry. Because it was right. The leader's face darkened. Right? To feed an enemy? To defy your elders? The boy's voice rose, stronger now. She is not our enemy. She is only a person. And we could not watch her suffer. The crowd stirred, divided. Some muttered angrily, but others fell silent, staring at the children with uncertain eyes. The leader turned back to the human. His voice was cold. You do not belong here. Tomorrow, you will leave this colony. If you do not, there will be consequences. The guards moved closer, pulling the children away. The youngest screamed, reaching out for the human, but her small hand slipped away in the dark. The human's chest ached as if her heart had been torn in two. But even as the crowd shouted, even as the guards dragged her toward the square, she saw something that gave her strength. The children, still struggling against the guards, did not look afraid anymore. They looked proud. Their glowing eyes locked with hers, filled with unspoken words. We are with you. We do not regret this. The human stood tall despite her weakness. She had lost the fight for food, for safety, but she had won something greater, truth. The children's bravery had cracked the wall of fear in the colony. And soon, that crack would grow wider. For now, she was alone. But not for long. The human woman stood in the center of the colony's square, her coat tattered and her body weak from hunger, yet her eyes burned with quiet fire. The colony leader's glare was sharp, and the guards stood like statues, ready to carry out orders. Around them, the crowd whispered and shifted uneasily. All eyes were on her, waiting for her to break, to beg, or to run. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the stolen food, the frightened children, and the judgment of an entire world pressing down on her. But instead of fear, she felt determination. I am not here to fight you, she began, her voice trembling at first but growing stronger. I am not your enemy. I only asked for food. I only asked for kindness. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some aliens scoffed, others leaned closer, unsure what to believe. The children, she continued, risked punishment to help me. They showed something greater than strength. They showed compassion. They did what was right, even when the world told them not to. The children, standing behind her, held their heads high. Their glowing eyes met hers, and for a moment, the air seemed to still. It was a quiet defiance, stronger than any weapon in the colony. The leader's face darkened. How dare you speak to me this way, human? Do you think your words change anything? She shook her head. No, my words are not magic. But actions are what matter. These children acted out of kindness, even when they knew the consequences. If fear and cruelty are the rules of your world, then you are the weaker ones. Silence fell. The crowd froze. Even the guards paused, unsure of what to do. One of the adults stepped forward hesitantly. They are right, he whispered, his voice shaking. Humans, they understand hunger, pain, loss. And maybe they understand kindness too. Another nodded slowly. And the children, they were brave. More brave than we are. The colony leader's jaw tightened. He looked at the human, then at the children. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, slowly, he motioned for the guards to lower their spears. "You may stay the night," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "And the children will not be punished, for now." The human's heart leapt. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. She had not only survived, she had shown the colony what true courage looked like. That night, she was given a proper meal for the first time in days. The aroma filled the small room, and the warmth of food filled her body. She ate slowly, savoring each bite, but her mind was not on the food alone. She thought of the children, small, brave, unbroken by fear. They had taught her something important. Kindness could cross worlds. Courage could be found in the smallest hearts. And humanity, true humanity, was not measured by strength or weapons, but by the choice to give when others refuse. In the following days, whispers of the events spread through the colony. Some adults were angry, unable to understand why children had helped a human. But others began to watch differently, noticing small acts of kindness among their neighbors. The human's courage and the children's bravery had created a ripple in the hearts of many. She spent time with the children, teaching them words from her language, sharing stories of distant worlds, and laughing quietly in secret corners of the colony. The children smiled more freely now, their eyes still glowing, but now with pride instead of fear. One evening, as the sun set in streaks of orange and purple across the alien sky, the woman looked at them and whispered softly, "You did something amazing. You changed the world tonight, even if you do not see it." The oldest boy smiled. "We only fed you because it was right." She nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. "Yes, and that is what makes you heroes." For the first time since she arrived in the colony, the human felt hope. Not just for herself, but for the future. Kindness could exist, even in worlds divided by fear. Bravery could shine, even from the smallest hearts. And humanity, her humanity, had proven that even one person could make a difference. The colony was still imperfect. The adults still held their fears and prejudices. But the story of the human and the children would not be forgotten. It would spread quietly, like a whisper carried on the wind, reminding all who heard it that mercy, courage, and compassion were stronger than fear. As the night deepened, the human woman stood once more at the edge of the colony, looking up at the stars. She could see the vastness of space stretching endlessly above her. And in that vastness, she felt a spark. Hope for the universe, for humanity, and for the bonds that could be formed across worlds. The children played nearby, laughing softly, their eyes glowing in the moonlight. And she knew without doubt that she would protect them, teach them, and carry their courage with her wherever she went. The human had arrived a stranger, hungry and alone. But she had left a mark. A spark of hope, a lesson of bravery, a story of kindness that would outlast the night. And somewhere, in the hearts of the colony, change had begun.